Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to later realize they weren't who you thought they were? Maybe a colleague, a friend, or even a partner who seemed genuine, kind, and authentic, until something didn't add up. You couldn't explain it, but your instincts whispered, something's off. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists in history, spent his life studying this very mystery. He discovered that beneath every personality lies a carefully built mask, what he called the persona. It's the image we create to protect ourselves, to fit in, to be accepted. But no matter how convincing someone's mask may be, Jung found that two things will always reveal who they truly are. Not their words, not their achievements, not even their actions, when people are watching. Instead, it's what they do when their guard drops, the moments when their unconscious patterns slip through. These hidden reveals are so powerful, so raw, that they expose the truth about a person's character instantly. And once you know how to spot them, you'll never see people the same way again. In this video, we'll uncover Jung's 2 psychological tells that expose authenticity beneath the persona. The first shows up through judgment, who someone criticizes and why. The second appears under pressure, how someone reacts when their image is challenged. These 2 insights don't just help you understand others, they force you to confront yourself, because every judgment you make, every mask you wear, is a reflection of your own unconscious patterns. Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely," and that's what this journey is about, seeing through illusions, both in others and within yourself. By the end, you'll recognize the hidden mechanics behind human behavior. You'll see the signs of shadow projection, the cracks in the persona, and the path toward genuine self-awareness. You'll understand how people reveal themselves, even when they think they're hiding. And more importantly, you'll learn how to become conscious of your own patterns, your own reactions, your own truth. This isn't just psychology, it's psychological X-ray vision. Welcome to the hidden code of true character. Carl Jung believed that the surest way to see someone as true character is to look at who they judge most harshly. He called this phenomenon projection, when we see in others what we refuse to see in ourselves. In other words, what bothers us most in other people often reflects something unresolved within us. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." He understood that our unconscious mind doesn't just hide our fears and desires, it tries to express them through judgment. So when someone criticizes others with unusual intensity, they're not only describing that person, they're revealing their own disowned traits. Imagine this through Jung's eyes. Meet David, a talented architect who prides himself on being honest and moral. Yet at every meeting, he complains about his colleague Marcus, calling him fake, charming, and manipulative. David's tone sharpens when Marcus gets praise, and his jaw tightens when Marcus wins over clients. Jung would instantly recognize what's happening. David's anger isn't really about Marcus. It's about the part of David that he rejected, the desire to be more socially skilled, more persuasive, more confident. He sees manipulation because deep down, he's afraid of his own potential to influence others. This is shadow mapping, tracing a person's judgments back to the hidden parts of themselves. The stronger the emotional reaction, the closer you're getting to their shadow. If someone is constantly calling others selfish, arrogant, or fake, look beneath the words. Their criticism is a mirror reflecting their own unacknowledged impulses. But projection isn't only negative. We also project positive traits we're afraid to claim. When someone constantly praises others as so talented, so confident, or so brave, they're often seeing qualities they already possess but haven't embraced. The key sign is emotional intensity. Disproportionate reactions, whether love or hate, always point toward the unconscious. The traits we can calmly observe in others are usually the ones we haven't accepted in ourselves. That's why Jung said, "We cannot change anything until we accept it." When you find yourself judging someone, pause and ask, what part of me am I seeing in them? Your irritation might be your teacher. Your shadow always speaks first, through your judgments. Carl Jung believed that everyone wears a mask, what he called the persona. It's the version of ourselves we present to the world, shaped by expectations, roles, and survival needs. The persona isn't fake, it's functional. But it becomes dangerous when we start believing that the mask is who we are. Jung discovered that the truth about someone's character appears when that mask begins to crack. He called this moment a persona breakdown. It happens when someone's image is threatened, when they lose control, or when stress forces their true patterns to surface. Think of Sarah, a marketing director known for her calm professionalism. She's built her career on composure, diplomacy, and control. But during a high-stakes client meeting, her strategy was harshly criticized. In an instant, her calm mask shattered. Her voice sharpened, her posture stiffened. She deflected blame onto her team and subtly attacked the client's judgment. In that flash of defensiveness, her carefully crafted persona vanished. The calm professional gave way to the anxious, insecure self beneath it. Jung would say that this was Sarah's authentic character emerging, not her best self, but her real self. The moment when her ego tried desperately to protect its image. He wrote, "The foundation of all mental illness is the unwillingness to experience legitimate suffering." Sarah's refusal to feel the pain of criticism forced her to act out her fear instead. These persona cracks reveal more about a person than years of polite interaction. Watch how people react when they're caught off guard, when someone interrupts them, when they make a mistake, when they're criticized, ignored, or embarrassed. Do they lash out? Do they blame others? Or do they pause, breathe, and reflect before responding? The answer shows whether they've integrated their emotions or are still ruled by them. Because when pressure rises, the unconscious always takes over, and that's when authenticity, or the lack of it, shines through. Jung taught that maintaining a false image consumes enormous energy. When that energy falters, the truth rushes out. So if you really want to know someone, don't watch them when they're confident. Watch them when they're cornered. That's where the mask slips, and the soul speaks. Carl Jung spent his life mapping the human mind, what he called the architecture of the psyche. He believed that our conscious mind is just the surface, a small island above a vast unseen ocean. Beneath that surface lives the unconscious, the realm of impulses, fears, and forgotten truths that quietly shape our behavior. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." He understood that every interaction between people stirs the hidden layers of the psyche, and it's within those reactions, not the rehearsed moments, that true character emerges. The first reveal, shadow projection, works because the unconscious doesn't separate self from other. When David judged Marcus for being fake, his unconscious wasn't analyzing Marcus, it was trying to resolve his own buried conflict about authenticity and influence. The more he condemned Marcus, the louder his shadow tried to speak. This is what Jung called projection mapping. The psyche projects unresolved material outward so we can see it reflected back through other people. That's why emotional intensity always signals an inner struggle. The stronger the reaction, the deeper the issue it touches. The second reveal, persona breakdown, works for the opposite reason. Maintaining an image drains psychological energy. It takes effort to be the professional, the good friend, or the perfect partner, but under stress, that energy collapses, and when it does, the real structure beneath the authentic self becomes visible. Jung called this process ego maintenance, and he saw it as fragile. When the ego is challenged, its defense systems activate instantly. Some people attack, others withdraw. Some deflect blame, a few pause and integrate. Each reaction exposes the psychological foundation underneath the persona. Aggression signals buried insecurity. Deflection hints at dishonesty. Withdrawal reveals avoidance and fear. Integration, however, shows maturity, the ability to stay conscious under pressure. Jung wrote, "A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them." To him, the way someone handles discomfort, criticism, shame, or failure reveals how far they've come in their own inner evolution. Because stress doesn't build character, it exposes it. Once you understand projection and the persona, a deeper question appears. What happens when someone is confronted with their own shadow? This is what Jung called the test of integration. It's the moment when self-awareness meets resistance. The integration test reveals not just what someone hides, but how they handle truth about themselves. Do they get defensive, deny, or deflect? Or can they pause, reflect, and accept what they see without collapsing into shame? Remember David, the architect who judged Marcus for being fake. Imagine someone gently asking him, "Do you ever wish you could be more socially confident like Marcus?" That one question exposes a crossroad in David's psyche. He might respond defensively, "Are you saying I'm fake? That's ridiculous." This is the unconscious type, blind to his projections, trapped in denial. He's unaware of his own shadow, and therefore ruled by it. Or he might acknowledge the idea but keep it intellectual. Yeah, maybe I judge people sometimes. I just value honesty. This is the aware but defended type. He recognizes his pattern but can't feel it deeply enough to change it. But there's a third possibility, the integrated type. This person can hold two truths at once. Actually, yeah, I think I envy Marcus's confidence. Maybe I've been too quick to judge him. This response shows emotional maturity. It transforms judgment into self-knowledge. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That's what the integration test does. It brings the darkness into awareness. It turns reaction into reflection, blame into understanding, shame into growth. People who pass this test show a rare kind of strength. They can look at themselves without flinching. They can learn from conflict instead of repeating it. They see criticism as information, not attack. Jung taught that these individuals are conscious, not perfect. They've learned to use their projections as teachers rather than enemies. Their self-awareness becomes a bridge to compassion, both for themselves and for others. Integration isn't comfortable, but it's the path to authenticity. Because until you face your own shadow, you'll keep meeting it in other people. Jung discovered that every person you meet acts as a mirror. They reflect not only their own character, but the hidden corners of your psyche. This is what he called the mirror effect, the inevitable moment when understanding others leads you back to understanding yourself. He wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." In other words, every judgment, every reaction, every attraction or irritation is a message from within. When someone triggers you, they're revealing your unhealed parts. If arrogance enrages you, explore your relationship with confidence. If neediness exhausts you, ask where you've suppressed your own needs. If dishonesty disgusts you, examine where you avoid uncomfortable truths. The mirror works in both directions. What you admire in others is also a reflection. When you're drawn to someone's creativity, courage, or charisma, you're seeing your own unrealized potential. You not just inspired by them, you recognizing a part of yourself waiting to be expressed. Jung called this positive projection. It's how our unconscious points us toward growth. We project both our wounds and our gifts until we learn to claim them. Once we do, admiration turns into motivation, and envy transforms into possibility. As you become skilled at reading others, you'll start seeing the same patterns in yourself. You'll notice your own persona breaking under pressure. You'll catch your own projections in real time. And in that awareness, transformation begins. Every person becomes a teacher. Every argument becomes a lesson. Every reaction becomes data about your inner world. Jung believed that this process leads to individuation becoming whole, not perfect. When you see the world as a mirror, you stop labeling people as good or bad. You start seeing them as reflections of shared humanity, fragments of the same collective story. This awareness changes how you relate to everyone around you. Instead of reacting, you reflect. Instead of judging, you understand. Instead of defending your mask, you drop it. The mirror effect is humbling, but it's also liberating, because once you realize that everyone reflects you in some way, you stop trying to fix others and start awakening yourself. Once you've seen the shadow, the persona, and the mirror effect, everything changes. You can't go back to seeing people only on the surface. You start to sense what's underneath, the fear behind anger, the pain behind pride, the insecurity beneath control. Jung believed that true consciousness means seeing these patterns clearly, without judgment. He called it the ethical relationship to the unconscious. It means using awareness not for power, but for compassion, to understand rather than to manipulate. Because the danger of psychological insight is ego inflation. Once people learn to read others, they often start feeling superior. They become shadow hunters, using knowledge as a weapon instead of a mirror. Jung warned that this turns understanding into domination. He wrote, "The healthy man does not torture others. Generally, it is the tortured who turn into torturers." The moment you use self-awareness to feel above others, you've lost consciousness itself. True awareness humbles you. It reminds you that everyone, including you, is struggling with unseen battles. That's why Jung's teachings always return to compassion. He saw that every defense, every projection, every persona is an attempt to cope with pain. When you understand this, your perception softens. You respond instead of react. You connect instead of control. This kind of consciousness changes relationships. You stop getting pulled into unconscious drama. You start setting boundaries with clarity instead of anger. You become calm in the presence of chaos. Jung called this individuation the process of becoming whole. It's not about being flawless. It's about living in truth, aware of both your light and your shadow. When your outer behavior aligns with your inner awareness, you become authentic. And authenticity is magnetic. It heals others simply by example. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Your calm presence transforms those around you. Your refusal to project invites others to face themselves. Your awareness becomes contagious. To live without the mask is not to be perfect, it's to be real. It's to walk through the fire of self-awareness and come out more human, more grounded, more free." You've just explored Carl Jung's two great revelations, the ways we truly see behind the mask. The first is shadow projection, how our judgments reveal the parts of ourselves we've disowned. The second is persona breakdown, how our reactions under pressure expose our authentic character. Together, they create a third force, integration, the moment when you face your own reflection without fear, when you stop judging and start understanding. When you realize that everyone you meet is showing you something about yourself. Jung taught that the path to consciousness isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. It's about seeing your shadow without shame, dropping your persona without panic, and learning to live with radical authenticity. He wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But he also showed us that this acceptance is the beginning of freedom. Because when you stop running from yourself, you stop fighting the world. You become still, real, whole. So as you move through your life, in your relationships, at work, online, watch for these moments. Who do you judge most? When does your mask slip? And what might those reactions be trying to teach you about yourself? Remember, every irritation, every admiration, every emotional charge is a signal from your unconscious saying, "Wake up." The more you listen, the more conscious you become. And consciousness doesn't just change you, it changes everyone around you. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Psychology Insights, and share it with someone who's ready to see beneath the surface. Here, we explore Jungian psychology, shadow work, and the path to authentic selfhood. Because understanding others begins with understanding yourself. Keep watching, keep learning, and above all, keep awakening to who you truly are.